Travis Campbell, there he is. You look like you're falling asleep, dude. What's up?
It's daylight in California,
Yes.
and it's nighttime here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, enough said.
Yes.
How you doing?
Car won't start.
Oh, it sucks. The mundane things of life get us down more than anything sometimes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, but I shall forge ahead. Interested to see how tomorrow turns out.
Well, that's always a good reason to wake up the next morning.
It'll be an interesting adventure.
That's right.
Will the car start after a night of having a charger up against it, charging it?
We'll see.
Battery, or shall I don't know, walk to work? Who knows? Who
Well,
knows how?
everybody, this is Travis and Ross, and this is Notes On, and we try to do Christ on purpose. And one thing you just said, I'm going to riff on. We weren't going to talk about this, but I'll talk about it anyway. You used the word adventure. I've heard Jordan Peterson, who does not profess to be a Christian, say that the Christian life should be called an adventure, and that's the way we
Yes.
should be talking about it. And I just think he's absolutely right. Why do we call it anything else?
I don't mind adventure. I tell you what, I can't stand the word journey.
Oh,
Not the band. I love the band Journey. But they're at each other's throats these days, which is sad. But the word journey, when I had cancer, they would give me these pamphlets as you begin your cancer journey.
oh,
It was
wow.
like, that is so cheesy and weird and demeaning. I mean, what does that mean? I think it's just an attempt. It's like George Carlin said, it's like words, like easy blow words, like you're trying to land an easy blow on somebody as you begin your cancer journey. Like
Wow.
it's this I'm going to go on an adventure, and it's just
Yeah.
going to be this wonderful thing. A journey is a wonderful thing. An adventure, who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
So I don't like that word. I've gotten to where I just don't like it.
You mean the word journey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, just hours ago, there was another assassination attempt on ex-President Donald Trump.
He experienced an assassination journey. He went on his second journey.
Yeah. So people who don't follow Christ, are they going to have a journey to hell?
Or people who get assassination attempts placed on them,
Yeah.
are they going down their assassination journey?
They're on a journey to San Quentin.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So what do you know? You know more about this than I do, and tell people what you have heard.
Have discovered, have given the scoop on, the scoop, the down low.
What's up?
Well, the guy's name is Ryan Wesley Ruth. And he was placed in custody after shots were fired on Sunday. And I love how NBC words this: an attempted assassination of Donald Trump. They put the word apparent in front of it. And this is 2 months after, of course, 2 months and 2 days after the first. So we have two assassination attempts on the former president's life within 2 months of each other in the middle of a campaign. It happened just before 2 p.m. at his Mar-a-Lago home. The Secret Service were like 2 holes in front of him as he was going through the golf course. And they spotted a rifle with a scope in the bushes outside the course. And they opened fire on the man, who was able to get away, and he fled rather, in a black Nissan. As shots rang out, it was unclear if the person was able to take a shot at our agents. Rafael Barros of the Secret Service said. And then later they caught him and they put him under custody. An AR-style rifle was recovered from the scene. Alongside the fence by the rifle were 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera. So this assassin would-be assassin was thinking about, I guess, filming the thing, which is smart. And he apparently has appeared in various venues trying to recruit people to fight with him in the Ukraine. Now, what we're doing right now is we're doing this a few days before it actually airs. We're actually filming this on Sunday. So I would imagine that by the time people are listening to this, there's going to be a whole lot more about this guy. But I do just have to say, this may be one of the most topsy-turvy campaign cycles I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a person winning their primaries and then not getting the nomination.
Right.
That's never happened. The only thing I can think of where that happened was RFK Sr., who was killed after winning the California primary in '68. But I never witnessed that. I wasn't born yet.
Right.
You were, because you're like a lot older than me.
A lot. Oh my gosh. Wow.
You were ancient.
What's that Reagan line? I won't use your youth and inexperience against you. Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, again, that's just not heard of. And so that was something. And then we had the assassination attempt before Biden was ever even really moved off out of the campaign. There were already talks of it because it was right after the debate. I don't know. This whole thing has just been weird.
There was no process in the nomination of Kamala Harris in the Democratic convention. It was just some kind of behind the scenes, handshake, and that was it. And I've said this before. I think this is the weakest two candidates together that we've ever in my lifetime. I just, people say, well, how can you vote for one or the other? And well, because you really despise the other person. And it's like, I bet you 80% of the people that vote in this election, it's going to be a negative vote. They're going to vote because they can't stand the other candidate.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And that's really sad and pitiful and
sure
and a horrible indication of where our country is at. But I think it's the truth. I'll vote for Trump because I believe in what he would do if he becomes president. But I sure don't like him. He's just
I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm voting for him too.
Yeah.
The RFK Jr. endorsement put me over the. I was probably going to vote for him anyway, but it solidified it for me. Just
yeah.
And he makes a really good point. I mean, among the two candidates, for all their rhetoric of how Trump is out to destroy democracy, I've never seen a party exhibit such anti-democratic behavior in the past couple of years, multiple years, but especially over the past 6 months. I mean, it's just been unbelievable. And I am having a very difficult time believing that the rhetoric of the press hasn't contributed on some level to the assassination attempts. When you're constantly saying that this guy is the next Hitler, we had him for 4 years. It wasn't really that bad under Trump.
No, he actually did a lot of good things.
I mean,
nations respected us once again. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really go out on campaign trails. I don't put signs in my yard. I'm just not that person.
Right. Me neither.
I've never put a bumper sticker on, any car. I'm just not that guy. But if I were going to get a t-shirt this year, there's a funny one that I saw recently, and it said mean tweets equals cheap gas.
That's good.
It's a really good. Really, what did Trump do that was so horrible? Mean tweets. I do think that I'm still not convinced the January 6th thing that he isn't. I still criticize him on that, but I mean, it's not what the Democrats have made it out to be. And it is true that Nancy Pelosi was in charge of the security around the Capitol building. So most of that goes to her. I mean, they literally opened the door and let a lot of those people in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what to think about that, but I can tell you this. The Biden administration has said nobody died on our watch in the military. They didn't even think about the families in Afghanistan, the 13 that died. They've criticized Trump for actually receiving an invitation by those families to go commemorate their deaths, to show respect for them. Kamala Harris was invited. She didn't go. She, as a prosecutor, was extremely unjust. She, a pot smoker herself, laughed about the fact that she went and pursued, you know, pot smokers and the things that she actually did. She did not earn her way to her titles, and she didn't even earn this nomination. So I don't even know what we're talking about. This person should not be president.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree.
awful. So, and there's something going on with these assassination attempts. I mean, it's just beyond. I mean, have you ever heard of this? A guy getting shot at twice, or at least 2 assassination attempts twice in
No,
just a few months? I've never heard of this.
no, I don't think that's ever happened before. I know there's been 4 presidents in our past who have actually been shot at and killed.
Yeah.
And then there have been several assassination attempts. Reagan was one where there was an attempt, but the person, the president did not die. But I don't think there's ever been a time when there's been 2 attempts within a short period of time. So no.
There is one exception. That's Ford. Remember Squeaky Fromm from the
Oh
Manson
yeah.
family?
Yep.
And then there was, and then I can't remember who it was that followed up. But that was so.
Yeah.
When I said I can't think of anything, it popped in my head as you were talking, and then I was able to make you look bad by correcting you historically.
You're just so much smarter than me, Travis. It doesn't take much, I'll tell you.
I try, but this is insane. So I am looking forward to seeing what they uncover about this guy. I bet he's a real piece of work.
Well, you know what, Travis? The main thing that we need to do is we need to pray for Donald Trump.
Sure,
We need to pray for Kamala Harris.
sure,
We need to pray for the voters and everybody in this country because
sure.
it's serious stuff, and it's easy for us as Christians to take pot shots, and we all do it. But the bottom line is, are we on our knees, praying about this stuff too? That's the most important thing that we can do to influence the election.
And I can honestly say this. I mean, if she wins, I will be disappointed, but she will be my president, and I will pray that she guides the country in a good place. I will pray that she does her job, and I will not wish her death or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll criticize her. Heck yeah, I'll criticize her, but I'm not gonna sit down and harbor thoughts. Oh, wouldn't it be great if somebody killed her? I don't want that.
Right.
So that's treasonous. I mean, you don't pray for the death of your leaders like that. That's just horrible.
No, absolutely. That's
And
true.
anti-Christian, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of which, you've been watching a lot of history lately, haven't you?
Well, I came across this 5-part YouTube video series by a woman named Eva Schubert. She's a singer-songwriter, but she does these history videos that are really fantastic. And I was poking around looking for something about the Reformation, and I came on her 5-part series, and I highly recommend it. I don't know if she's Protestant or Catholic or even a believer. That's how good the series was. She just told the story. And I think I'd love to talk to you about some of this, Travis, and some of my impressions. I personally, I've said this to you before, and I really mean it. I don't get discouraged about my faith any more than when I read church history.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. Yeah,
the level of arrogance and pride and violence that we and I'm going to say we, because I believe in the church. I
Mhm.
believe that I am a sinful, fallen person too. So I'm not going
Mhm.
to try to put it on other people. But I
Yeah.
think that, ironically, I guess, if Christianity is true, this is kind of what we would expect from the church, isn't it? Because even the best people who are trying to follow Christ screw up so badly. It's barely, a signal above the noise in some of these cases. And I think, Protestants killing Catholics and Catholics killing and torturing Protestants. And I have an impression that I think I want to ask you this question, because I feel like, you hear these people tell the story of the violence that the Catholic Church perpetrated, and many times the Protestants also perpetrated, and it's always prefaced with well, that was the times they were in. They were really violent times, and I really want to push against that, because anybody who reads the New Testament, you have to be able to see that that's not the legacy that Jesus left us. If
Right.
we're following Christ, other than him tying a cord together and going through the temple one day, everything he did and said was fairly peaceful. I mean, he sure incited a lot of
Sure.
he irritated people, but he never incited violence. He never set an example of torturing and killing the people that you disagree with. For him, it was always about the words you used, the love you showed, the example that you gave to other people. And so I think it's just how far away from the gospel and the spirit of Christ these people were,
Right.
that would allow that to happen in the first place. Do you think that's a legitimate way to look at it, or am I expecting too much?
No, I agree with you. I mean, some people may raise the issue of him casting out the money changers in the temple
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
as an example of him doing something. Did you mention that? I don't. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry if I didn't hear that.
Maybe not very well, but I did mention it.
Um. Okay. Well, yeah. So that would be the one grand exception. He chased them out. He did pull out like a cord and whip some of them out.
Right.
So yeah. That, of course, was an issue of justice because the people were being fleeced, and uh, the idea of exchanging, engaging in trade in God's house was always a problem, and it was banned. This is, by the way, an indictment of any conspiracy. Sorry, any like enrichment or prosperity gospel where you were literally worshiping money, engaging in various trade. Churches need to watch that. I even look askance at bookstores and churches. I mean,
Yeah.
our churches have become shopping malls,
Yeah.
and they are strictly places of worship. There can be, I guess, exceptions to that if you're talking about a conference where you might have some booksellers during the week, but on Sunday, the bookseller's got to go, and it's time for you to sit there and worship and engage in praise of God. So yeah, that's a rabbit trail. Jesus never wanted you to advance the faith through violence.
Yeah.
Um, I think that the change comes with Constantine, where he did yoke church and state. The good thing that came out of that was the Nicene Creed. The bad thing that came out of that was the yoking of church and state. And it's so funny. I was listening to a debate last night with a Muslim, and it was two Muslims and a Christian, and then an atheist. The Christian and atheist were together, and they were debating these two Muslims.
What was the
And
what was the topic of the debate?
is Islam true?
Okay.
And but my Muslim has a very difficult time defending his own view, so he usually just goes and attacks Christianity. Um, And so the attack was, well, Jesus didn't claim to be God. Nobody had any idea that Jesus was God. And then voila, we have the Council of Nicaea, which sort of creates this out of whole cloth. It's sort of the storyline. And then the Trinitarians persecuted the those who didn't believe that Jesus is God. The funny thing about that is that, I mean, this is very well documented. It was the Arians that persecuted the Trinitarians. Athanasius was persecuted. He was hunted all of his life. That's why they have the phrase Athanasius contra mundum. He's Athanasius against the world. In fact, I don't know of a clear example of Trinitarians attacking non-Trinitarians for being non-Trinitarian.
Mm-hmm.
Now, later, there were those who believed in transubstantiation that attacked politically and with violence those who rejected it. And then, of course, the church, the Roman Catholic Church, attacked Wycliffe and Huss and Savonarola, who Savonarola was not of the theology of a Huss or a Wycliffe, but he nevertheless called for moral reform in the church and was basically executed for that. And that was during a time of the church's, the height of the papacy's corruption. Alexander Borgia was the Pope, and he basically had orgies and all kinds of things going on in the Vatican or in the Roman Church at the time. And so, yeah, but none of that, I don't think, really would have happened had Constantine not stuck his nose into church affairs to the degree he did.
Yeah. I have another idea that I want to run by you and going through all this. We've talked about this a little in the past, but I've taken an interest in Roman Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think I told you I was going to do this, and I'm actually my wife and I are taking the RCIA classes at one of our local parishes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any intention of becoming a Catholic, but I really want to learn.
Sure.
And I figure what a better way to do it. And I told them exactly where I stand, and they were fine. Come on in, and check it out. And I feel that there absolutely is a path to salvation in the Catholic Church, in the Orthodox Church, obviously, and as a Protestant. And I think one of the reasons that I actually think the religious environment right now is pretty healthy. I mean, we don't go around yelling and we don't go around torturing and killing each other when we disagree. And I think that what was happening in the couple of centuries before the Reformation was that there was no alternative authoritative voice in the church. In fact, the church violently oppressed any alternative voices. And I think the way human beings are, we need to be able to view our choices. Think about it in politics, right? Somebody comes along and says, I'm a socialist. I think socialism is great. And we can look back and we can say, well, you're full of it because we've tried it and it doesn't work. You have to be able to have the edges, the fringe, to find the middle.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because the people out on the fringe, they're failing, but most of us can look and say, this makes sense because this other stuff has been tried. And I think it's the same in our faith. In a way, it is competitive. Somebody comes along and says, I want to become a follower of Jesus Christ. Where do I go? And they look at the Orthodox Church and they look at the Protestant, all the different stripes of Protestantism, and they look at the Catholic Church. And there's a real healthy way that they can look at that and say, okay, this works and this doesn't, and I like this, and this seems closer to Christ, and this seems craziness over here.
Yeah.
And I think, the Catholics get after the Protestants for 30,000 denominations or whatever it is. It's really closer to maybe 3,000. But as messy as that is, I think it's actually the best way it can be, because there's a competition. There's a you can look at it and say this works and this doesn't work, and I like the way they do that and they do that over there. And I think it's really healthy. If we ever get back to a single way of doing it, it'll become oppressive and horrible like the Catholic Church was in the couple centuries before the Reformation. What do you think of that?
Yeah, my views are very similar to that. I mean, the Pope recently came out as a pluralist.
Yeah. Did you see that? All faiths lead to God.
And so
he said that.
Yeah. So one of there is a big difference between the American Catholic, in my estimation, than the kind of Catholic you might get in Brazil or Italy and so forth. And I think that the reason an American Catholic, say a Protestant who's become a Catholic, that person is going to be far more orthodox than a lot of people that grow up in the church. And I think it's because you usually you don't convert to a religion as an adult unless you're just truly committed to it. That's true if you become a Buddhist or a Muslim or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a little bit more of an authentic, because you appreciate what you're getting more than the person that just grew up in it. There's the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. And, people just don't really appreciate sometimes what they grow up in. And these American Protestants are usually evangelicals who have a deep faith, they're intellectual. And when they come into the Roman Church, they're very much, they're very able to defend the doctrines taught in the Roman Church because they were vetting them before they entered in.
Yes.
Whereas if you're like in Brazil or something, there's not a whole lot of that. And the American Catholic is going to be very strict about quoting the catechism and the various official documents of the church. Whereas, so in American Catholic Church, they're going to let a lot of the things creep into it that you might find in, say, a Brazilian church or a German church or whatever, because they are very keen over the fact that the main competitor against Catholicism is some stripe of evangelicalism. And so they don't want evangelicals saying, see, this is where the Catholic Church leads you. They want to be able to say, no, we understand that there are rogue Catholic churches, but our documents are staying orthodox.
Right.
Now, having said all of that, what does an infallible magisterium do to preserve you from heresy if the very Pope himself, your own Pope, is now spouting these heresies? In this case, many ways lead to salvation outside of the church and so forth. That is a bridge too far. And I'm getting less and less patient with the way I see various Catholic apologists defend that. It's getting kind of old to see them parse this in a very careful way to show that, yeah, he may have said it, but let's look at the context. And he just keeps saying these things. And eventually you have to say, when is this going to stop? When are you going to finally just throw up your hands and say, look, the guy's a heretic. He's a robber pope. And, that is what it is. Now, the Sedevacantists are now off on the side, like the Martin brothers. No, the Diamond brothers. And they are having a heyday with these heretical statements of the Pope. And they're saying, see, there is no Pope of the church. And so the idea that you're going to get a unity in the Catholic Church as it is now just isn't true. The Catholic Church was never this monolith some Catholic apologists make it out to be. It is in a lot of ways as diverse, if not more, than what you might find between the denominations and evangelicalism.
Yeah, because somebody comes along and says, I want to be a follower of Christ. They can find a liberal Catholic parish. They can find a more conservative Catholic parish. They can find one that does the Latin Mass. There's a lot of different stripes of Catholicism. And those people do believe different things and practice their faith differently.
I mean, if you take liberal mainline Protestantism and liberal Catholics and just take that out, I guarantee you that there are more that I have more in common with a Reformed Baptist, for example, than some schools of thought within Catholicism. Especially if you bring in the old school Catholics that denied Vatican I, the current set of Vegantists. I mean, there's a lot of diversity there. And they are like the set of Vegantists think that, if you're not Catholic, A, you're going to hell. And B, if you belong to the Catholic Church as such and believe that the current Pope is a true Pope, you're going to hell. So they're the Diamond Brothers. Those are interesting guys, especially since the debate about a year and a half ago between one of the Diamond Brothers on Pints with Aquinas. Everybody agrees that they won that debate. So I don't know maybe what you and I should do, because we're still looking for people to come on and interview. And there's some people that have just kicked the can down the road. I'll get back to me. I have all kinds of projects I got to do. Maybe you and I should just work our way through Trent Horn's book, Defending Catholicism, and then your acquaintance / friend, somebody I've interacted with, Gavin Wortland, just came out with his book on Protestantism. And so those would be two fun books to kind of look at as we're doing this exploration.
Yeah, I'm game. I also want to ask the guy who's teaching the RCIA class if he'd come on.
Oh yeah,
he's a really good guy, and I think he would defend. He would represent Catholicism well, because he's really smart. So I'm going to ask him. So we're out of time, Travis. We're out of time.
We're always out of time.
Never enough time. Never enough time to hang out with Travis.
Well, God bless you, my brother. I will see you next week.
All right, man. Good to